Builder.ai had Microsoft backing and a $1.2 billion valuation. It filed for bankruptcy in 2025. And it's not an outlier. It's the most expensive version of a mistake that killed thousands of AI startups, and every single one of them made it for the same structural reason. So the reason is boring, right? Which is kind of why it keeps working. These companies, they built their whole business on top of a model they didn't own. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, they trained the thing. And the startup, wrote some clever prompts, wrapped a clean interface around the API, and called that a product. That's the wrapper. You send text to someone else's model, you get text back. You charge a markup on it. And for a while there, in 2023 and 2024, that looked like a business. Thousands of founders raised real money on it. CB Insights counted over 14,000 AI-driven SaaS startups launched in 2024 alone. That's just 1 year. Then they started dying. About 40% of them failed in under 2 years, and that's roughly double the normal mortality rate for startups that age. And the pace is speeding up, it's not slowing down. So the question worth asking isn't whether AI startups fail. I mean, startups always fail, right? The question is why this specific group failed at double the normal rate, all in the same way. And the answer is they never owned the thing customers were actually paying for. Okay, so here's the failure in motion. You build a tool that does one useful thing the base model can't quite do out of the box. Maybe you let people chat with a PDF. Maybe you stitch together a few API calls into a workflow. People pay you a few bucks a month for it. And then the model provider ships that exact feature as a native button. So your entire product is now a checkbox inside ChatGPT. There's a name for this, actually. It's called getting Sherlocked, and that's from Apple's old habit of building a third-party app's best feature straight into the operating system and just erasing the company overnight. So in AI, founders started saying, yeah, they got Sherlocked by OpenAI.
The cleanest example, it's the chat with your documents crowd. Chat PDF, PDF.ai, Ask Your PDF, a whole cluster of startups whose entire reason to exist was, uploading a file and asking questions about it. And then OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, they all added native file upload and analysis in basically the same product cycle. The feature didn't get worse, it got absorbed. The whole category, gone, in one announcement window. And this wasn't like an accident the platforms regretted. In 2024 alone, OpenAI shipped the GPT store, operator, tasks, canvas, and native search. That single product cadence wiped out an estimated 200 funded wrapper startups. 200. So when you build on someone's platform, their roadmap is your roadmap. You just don't get to see it. The textbook case, it's Jasper. And it matters because Jasper was good. This wasn't some weekend project with a landing page. So Jasper sold AI writing for marketing teams. It raised a 9-figure round and hit a $1.5 billion valuation back in October 2021. Real customers, Airbnb on the logo wall, revenue growing fast. By the standards of 2022, this was a generational AI winner. Then ChatGPT launched. And the core thing Jasper sold, right? AI that writes decent marketing copy, that just became free. From the company whose model Jasper was paying to use. I mean, Jasper's product was a polished front end on GPT, and ChatGPT was the same engine, no markup, with the OpenAI brand on it. The unwind was fast. Within about 9 months of that big raise, Jasper was laying people off. By the summer of 2023, it had cut both its internal stock value and its revenue forecast inside the same few months. That September, both the CEO and the CTO stepped down. So less than 2 years, from a $1 billion valuation to the founders walking out the door. And Jasper didn't fail because the team was lazy or the product was bad. It failed because the value it added, it sat in this thin layer between you and a model it didn't control, and the owner of that model just decided to offer the same value for nothing. So there's a quieter way wrappers die, and it's worth understanding, because this one kills companies that never get Sherlocked at all. It's the economics. Okay, so a normal software company keeps 70 to 90 cents of every revenue dollar as gross margin, right? Because one more user costs almost nothing to serve. A wrapper doesn't get that. Every query a customer makes costs the wrapper real money in API fees. So wrapper margins run more like 50 to 60%. And here's the trap. They don't control either side of that equation. So watch what happened in 2025. OpenAI raised its API prices 3 separate times in 1 year. And look, if your business is the gap between what the API costs you and what you charge the customer, 3 price hikes is 3 direct cuts to your margin, and you've got no recourse. You can't negotiate. You can't switch off a price increase from your only supplier. Now, some people argue this is temporary, right? Inference costs have fallen sharply, so cheaper tokens should heal those margins. There's a real counterpoint though. That same falling cost, it also makes it cheaper for the platform to absorb your use case themselves. So cheap inference doesn't protect you, it kind of makes you easier to replace. You were living in the gap between what the API cost you and what customers paid, and yeah, everyone else is racing to close that gap. So if the wrapper's dead, what lives? And the answer's the same across every survivor. They used AI era speed to grab something the model provider can't copy from the outside.
First thing is proprietary data, and this is the one to really sit with, so let me make it concrete. Picture a startup that plugs into a mid-sized logistics company. Every shipment, every delay, every weird exception in how that specific business routes freight, it flows through the product and gets recorded. And after 2 years, that startup is sitting on the messy, real operating history of how that company actually runs. OpenAI cannot download that. It isn't in the training data and it never will be, because it only exists inside that customer's workflow. The model is a commodity. The data feeding it, it isn't. So when a competitor or a platform tries to copy you, they start from zero and you start from 2 years of recorded reality.
Second is deep vertical integration. So instead of a thin general tool, you wire yourself into one industry's real plumbing. The billing systems, the compliance steps, the specific way claims get processed in insurance, or how a clinic schedules patients. The model is one ingredient. The product is everything around it that took 2 years to integrate. And that's the part a horizontal platform won't bother to rebuild for your narrow little niche. Third is network effects baked into the loop. The product gets better as more people use it, so the usage itself becomes the moat. And a model update can't reset that because it doesn't live in the model, it lives in your user base. In February 2026, Google's own VP of product, they kind of said the quiet part out loud. 2 kinds of AI startup won't survive, the ones with no proprietary data and the ones with no specific defensible customer segment. And, I mean, when the platform tells you which companies it's going to eat, believe it. Bessemer's State of AI work in 2025 reached the same conclusion from the money side. Generic AI wrappers are now basically unfundable. The VCs who poured capital into the wrapper boom, they've just stopped writing those checks. Okay, to be fair though, the wrapper is dead take can get kinda lazy. Distribution is real. Brand trust is real. If you reach customers nobody else reaches, or you own a workflow so deeply that ripping you out costs more than just keeping you, that's a defense, even without your own model. And some wrappers do survive on exactly that. But the test is simple, and it's the one thing to carry out of all of this. Ask what you'd have left if the model provider shipped your core feature as a button tomorrow. If the honest answer is nothing, you don't have a company. You've got a feature that's renting time before its landlord builds it in-house. Builder.ai, Jasper, the entire chat with your PDF graveyard. They didn't fail because AI was a bubble. AI wasn't the bubble. The belief that prompts and a nice interface were a moat, that was the bubble. The model is the easy part now, and it's getting easier every quarter. The hard part, the part that survives a model update, it's whatever you own that the people training the models can't reach. So build that, or honestly don't bother building.